Okay, here's a wild thought. What if the Earth, our huge spinning home, just stopped? It sounds like a simple question, right? But the answer is absolutely mind-bending. So let's dive into this incredible thought experiment. Just for a second, picture it. Right now, wherever you are, you're on a spinning planet. But imagine one moment, everything's totally normal. And the next, the ground beneath your feet just comes to a complete dead stop. What do you think happens next?
Well, if you happen to be near the equator, you are currently moving at about 1,670 kilometers an hour. Yeah, that's faster than the speed of sound. And here's the kicker. If the planet stops, you don't. Everything on the surface is about to get launched eastward at that incredible speed. Now, before we get to all the chaos and destruction, we really need to get a handle on how things work right now. See, the Earth's spin isn't just some neat trivia fact. It's a fundamental force that basically dictates everything about our world. This constant spinning, which is fastest at the equator, actually creates a slight bulge around the planet's middle. We're talking about 21 kilometers high. It's also the engine for our weather, driving these massive air currents around the globe. It shapes how our oceans flow, and it even generates the Coriolis effect. You know, the reason storms spin in different directions in the northern and southern hemispheres. Our entire world is literally shaped by this motion.
So let's go back to our scenario. What happens in those first few seconds after the brakes get slammed on a planetary scale? Well, this is where physics gets incredibly and frankly terrifyingly simple. The key idea here is inertia. It's simple, really. The solid part of the planet stops, but everything on it, the oceans, the atmosphere, you, me, every single building, every tree, it all keeps its momentum. Everything just keeps going eastward at hundreds and hundreds of kilometers an hour. Think about the atmosphere. It's no longer attached to the ground, so it just becomes this global supersonic windstorm. Can you imagine winds scouring the entire surface of the planet at speeds over 1,000 kilometers an hour? This isn't just a storm, it's more like a planetary scale shockwave. And the result of that? Total, absolute devastation. Anything that isn't fused directly to the planet's deep bedrock would be just ripped from the surface. Cities, forests, the sides of mountains, all of it would be pulverized and swept away in an instant. It would create a debris field that covers the entire planet. Okay, so after that initial horrifying cataclysm, the planet would slowly start to settle down. The laws of physics would begin to reshape our world into something totally alien, creating this new and terrifyingly stable state of being. With the spin gone, gravity just completely takes over. Remember that 21-kilometer bulge of water around the equator? That was being held up by centrifugal force. Without that spin, the whole thing collapses. The oceans, no longer held in the middle, would just rush toward the poles. You'd end up with two gigantic polar oceans and a brand new supercontinent wrapping all the way around the planet's waist. And what about our day? Well, a day as we know it would be gone. It would now last an entire year. As the non-rotating Earth keeps orbiting the sun, one side would be blasted by sunlight for 6 months straight, while the other side would be plunged into a 6-month-long night. You'd have these unbelievable temperature extremes, scorching hot on one side and a deep, deep freeze on the other. But believe it or not, the changes go even deeper than just the surface. Over the long term, the chaos would reach right down to the very heart of our planet. What you'd see is a complete system failure. Earth's spinning core, it acts like a giant engine, our geodynamo, and it's what generates our protective magnetic field. Without that spin, that engine could just sputter out, causing the magnetic field to collapse, and that would leave the surface totally exposed to deadly solar radiation. The planet's crust would buckle under all these new stresses, setting off massive global earthquakes. And our weather, it would probably just simplify into 2 giant permanent storms, one on the day side and one on the night side. Now, of course, this whole thought experiment is pretty much physically impossible. And the reason why it's impossible, well, that reveals just how incredibly powerful this invisible force of rotation really is. It shows us how it acts as our silent protector. The energy we've been talking about, it has a name. It's called rotational kinetic energy. It's the energy that's stored in any spinning object. And for something as gigantic as a planet, the amount is almost impossible to comprehend. To stop the Earth, you would need to get rid of 2.6 times 10 to the 29th power joules of energy. That's a 26 with 28 zeros after it. A number that huge is, well, it's pretty much meaningless on its own. So let's try to put it in perspective. Let's take the Tsar Bomba. That was the most powerful nuclear weapon ever detonated by humans. To stop the Earth's spin, you would need the energy equivalent of detonating over 1 trillion of them, all at once. It's just an impossible, staggering amount of force.
So here's the real takeaway. The point of all this isn't to be afraid of something that can't happen. It's to appreciate something profound. This whole scenario shows us that a force we can't even feel is fundamentally responsible for creating the stable, life-giving world we all depend on.
Earth's spin is this constant, silent guardian, a colossal engine powering our planet systems from top to bottom. It really makes you wonder, what other incredible, invisible forces are out there, quietly working to make our existence possible?